What's up, legends? Welcome back to Business Legends. I'm Alex. Real quick, before we jump in, I've got an insane story for you today. Picture this. It's 1996, and NVIDIA is literally weeks away from running out of money. They've just laid off half their employees. Their flagship product completely failed. But what happened next changed computing forever. This is that story. So we're talking April 1993. 3 engineers meet up at a Denny's in San Jose. Not some fancy Silicon Valley office, a Denny's. Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Preem are sitting in a booth drinking cheap coffee, about to start a company that'll be worth $3.5 trillion one day. Here's the thing though, none of them knew how to run a business. Jensen was 30 years old, had been working at LSI Logic as a microprocessor designer. The other 2 came from Sun Microsystems and IBM. They had $40,000 between them and this crazy idea about 3D graphics for video games. Now this is 1993. Most people are still playing 2D games. The internet barely exists. But these 3 guys see something nobody else sees. They think personal computers are about to become entertainment machines. They think 3D graphics are going to change everything. They originally wanted to call the company Envision. Turns out that name was taken by a toilet paper manufacturer. So they go with NVIDIA instead, comes from the Latin word invidia, meaning envy, because they wanted their competitors to be green with envy. The irony. Their brand color becomes green. Jensen becomes CEO not because he had experience, he didn't. But Chris and Curtis basically said, "You're in charge of all the stuff we don't know how to do," which was basically everything about running a company. So they need money, right? They get introduced to Don Valentine from Sequoia Capital. Jensen goes in to pitch and absolutely bombs it. Like, completely terrible presentation. Valentine tells him straight up that was awful. But here's the crazy part. Valentine had already decided to invest because Jensen's former boss had vouched for him so strongly. As they're shaking hands, Valentine looks Jensen dead in the eyes and says, "If you lose my money, I will kill you." They get $20 million and start building their first chip, the NV1. And this is where things get really interesting. See, NVIDIA makes a bold technical decision. While everyone else is using triangles to render 3D graphics, NVIDIA decides to use quadrilaterals. They think it's clever, more efficient. They spend 2 years, hire up to 100 people, pour everything into this chip. The NV1 launches in 1995, and it's a complete disaster. Here's why. It's trying to be everything. It's a graphics card, an audio processor, a game controller port, all rolled into one. Jensen later described it as an octopus because what do you even call this thing? Nobody knows what to do with it. But the real killer? Microsoft announces DirectX, which becomes the industry standard. And guess what? DirectX uses triangles, not quadrilaterals. NVIDIA just spent 2 years building for the wrong architecture, while 50 other companies are building the right one. Their partner, Diamond Multimedia, orders 250,000 units. Retail sales are terrible. Diamond panics and returns basically all of them. 249,000 units come back. NVIDIA is bleeding cash. This is 1996 now. They're completely out of money. Jensen has to make the hardest decision of his life. He lays off more than half the company. Goes from about 100 employees down to 40. These are his friends, people who believed in the vision. Gone. They've got one customer keeping them alive, Sega. NVIDIA's building a chip called NV2 for the Dreamcast console. But here's the thing, it's using the same failed quadrilateral architecture. Deep down, everyone knows it's not going to work. Then something incredible happens. Sega's president, Shoichiro Irimajiri, flies to California. He sits down with Jensen and basically says, "Look, we're going with someone else for the Dreamcast. NVIDIA is done. Game over." But then Irimajiri does something nobody expects. He says he believes in NVIDIA's potential. He convinces Sega to pay NVIDIA $5 million to get out of the contract. For work they didn't even finish. Jensen later said this money gave them 6 months to live. This is the moment everything changes. Jensen makes a radical decision. Forget quadrilaterals. Forget being clever. They're going to build what the market actually wants. They're going to build for DirectX. They're going to use triangles like everyone else, but they're going to do it better than everyone else. The team goes into overdrive. Remember, they're down to 40 people. Everyone's working insane hours. They've got 6 months of runway. If this next chip fails, NVIDIA is dead. They call it the Riva 128. And when it launches in 1997, it changes everything. The Riva 128 is 4 months late to market, but it doesn't matter. It's faster than anything else out there. It sells a million units in 4 months. 4 months. Remember, their last chip sold basically zero. But here's what's brilliant: Jensen doesn't celebrate. He takes this moment and creates a company culture that becomes legendary. He starts telling employees, "We're always 30 days from going out of business." Not because it's true anymore, but because he never wants them to forget how close they came to failing. This paranoia, this hunger, it drives everything NVIDIA does next. 1999, they launched the GeForce 256. This isn't just another graphics card. NVIDIA literally invents a new category. They call it a GPU, graphics processing unit. It's 5x more powerful than anything on the market. The gaming industry goes absolutely crazy for it. 2000, they go public. Jensen owns 3.6% of the company. Not bad for a guy who started with $40,000 at a Denny's. But here's where the story gets really interesting. See, everyone thinks NVIDIA is just a gaming company, graphics cards for nerds who want better-looking video games. Even Jensen thinks that's their market. Then something unexpected happens. Scientists start buying gaming cards. Universities are ordering GeForce GPUs by the truckload. Jensen's like, "What are you doing with these?" Turns out, the same parallel processing power that makes games look good is perfect for scientific computing. Researchers are using gaming GPUs to simulate molecular dynamics, analyze genetic sequences, process massive datasets. This is 2006. NVIDIA could have ignored this weird use case. But Jensen sees an opportunity. They create something called CUDA, a programming platform that lets developers use NVIDIA GPUs for general computing, not just graphics. Wall Street thinks they're crazy. Why would a gaming company care about scientists? The gaming market is huge. Focus on what works. But Jensen's playing a different game. He's not thinking about next quarter. He's thinking about the next decade. CUDA becomes the foundation for something nobody sees coming: the AI revolution. Fast forward to 2012. A researcher named Alex Krishesky enters an image recognition competition using NVIDIA GPUs. He doesn't just win, he destroys the competition. His neural network is so much better than anything else, it shocks the entire AI community. Suddenly, everyone realizes GPUs are the key to AI. And guess what? NVIDIA is the only company with a mature GPU computing platform. They spent 6 years building CUDA while everyone else was focused on gaming. The timing is perfect. Cloud computing is exploding. Big data is everywhere. And now deep learning shows promise. Every tech company in the world needs GPU computing power. And there's only one real option: NVIDIA. 2016, they launched the Pascal architecture. It's specifically designed for AI workloads. 2017, the Volta architecture, even more AI-focused. 2020, Ampere architecture. By now, NVIDIA GPUs are powering everything from autonomous vehicles to drug discovery. But the real explosion comes with ChatGPT in 2022. Suddenly, everyone understands AI isn't just for scientists anymore. It's going mainstream, and training these massive language models requires insane amounts of GPU power. NVIDIA's data center revenue goes from $3 billion in 2020 to $47 billion in 2024. $47 billion. Just from data centers. The company that almost died making the wrong graphics chip now controls 70 to 95% of the AI chip market. Their market cap hits $3.5 trillion. Jensen becomes one of the richest people on the planet. But here's what's crazy: he still drives a Toyota. Still wears the same leather jacket to every presentation. Still tells employees they're 30 days from bankruptcy. When someone asked him recently if he'd start NVIDIA again, knowing what he knows now, you know what he said? No, He said if he knew how much pain and suffering it would take, how close they'd come to failure, he probably wouldn't have done it. Today, NVIDIA isn't just powering gaming or even AI. They're building the computing platform for the next era of technology. Robotics, digital twins, autonomous everything. It all runs on NVIDIA chips. Their latest chip, Blackwell, is so advanced that demand is already outstripping supply before it even launches. Companies are literally fighting to get allocations. The price? $2 to $3 million per server, and they can't make them fast enough. But competition is coming. Google has their own AI chips. Amazon too. A Chinese company called DeepSeek just showed you can train AI models for way less money. The question isn't whether NVIDIA will face challenges, it's how they'll respond. If history is any guide, they'll do what they've always done. Work harder. Move faster. Stay paranoid. Because here's the thing about Jensen Huang. He's been preparing for disaster since day one. Every employee hears the same message. We're 30 days from going out of business. That mindset, born from almost losing everything in 1996, is now core to a $3.5 trillion company. Alright, 3 quick takeaways from NVIDIA's story. 1. Your biggest failure might be your most important lesson. 2. Sometimes being early is more important than being right. 3. Never forget where you came from. Look, every single company we cover started with someone who decided to bet on themselves. Maybe that's the real lesson here. If this story fired you up, hit subscribe and ring that bell. Drop a comment below. Which company should I cover next? I read every single one. Until next time, keep building your legend. Peace.